Known as the Saviour of Armageddon by the common people of the Imperium, Sebastian Yarrick is a Commissar of the Astra Militarum and, quite possibly, one of the Imperium's greatest heroes. As his honorific title suggests, Yarrick's most famous campaigns were those when he fought in the defence of the Imperial world of Armageddon against the vast hordes of the Orc warlord Ghazgkhull Thraka. During the early stages of the Second War for Armageddon, Yarrick demanded that the planetary governor, Hermann von Straub, request reinforcements, for Yarrick noted that Ghazgkhull was no mere run-of-the-mill greenskin war boss. However, Hermann von Straub was adamant that the Planetary Defense Force was more than capable of repelling the Orcish invaders, and thus banished Commissar Yarrick to Hades' Hive for the crime of undermining his authority. While the rest of the world would fall to the Orcish assault, Hades' Hive, whose defences were now being coordinated by Yarrick, proved to be much harder for the Orcs to break. During one of the Orcs' many assaults upon Hades' Hive, Yarrick would meet the war boss Ghazgkhull in combat. The war boss would sever Yarrick's arm at the elbow, but while the war boss celebrated, Yarrick, through sheer force of will, decapitated the Orc with a swing of his chainsword. Yarrick would then tear the Orc's power claw from its corpse and displayed it for all to see, causing Imperial forces to launch into a counterattack with renewed vigour. Only once the Orc assault had been repelled did Yarrick pass out from his injuries. Yarrick's defence of Hades' Hive was so effective that the Orc warlord Ghazgkhull Thraka was forced to personally intervene. Yarrick and Ghazgkhull would face off in single combat, with the Orc delivering a near-fatal wound to the old Commissar. However, Yarrick had bought the Imperium enough time for the Blood Angels chapter of the Adeptus Astartes to arrive and help turn the tide against the Orcish horde. Yarrick has not come so close to death ever since. As we can see, Yarrick has been able to survive wounds inflicted upon him that would kill a normal human, or even a post-human like an Astartes. But how can a mere man, and an old man at that, survive wounds that would seem almost impossible to recover from? When Ghazgkhull severed Yarrick's arm, he would have also severed the brachial artery. The brachial artery is a major blood vessel within the human body, and if severed can cause a man to fall unconscious from blood loss from anywhere between 30 seconds to a couple of minutes, and in turn, if not swiftly treated, can easily lead to death due to hypovolemic shock. That being said, since this particular wound was inflicted by an Orc power claw, which in a similar manner to an Imperial power fist are weapons that are enveloped in an intense energy field, then it's theoretically possible that this energy field could have cauterized the wound, sealing the brachial artery and thus preventing death from exsanguination. But given the other times that Yarrick has come close to death, could there in fact be something else in regards to his survival? One possibility is that Yarrick could be a perpetual. Perpetuals are those rare individuals who are able to effectively regenerate from the most grievous of wounds over the course of minutes, hours, or days. This in turn renders a perpetual effectively immortal, able to regenerate from wounds that would kill lesser beings and even from death itself. However, the possibility of Yarrick being a perpetual is, admittedly, highly unlikely. Perpetuals themselves are exceptionally rare individuals, with only about 10 or so being documented throughout the course of human history, which includes the likes of Elanius Pius, Vulcan, the Primarch of the Salamanders, and the Emperor of Mankind himself. But out of all the documented perpetuals, the only two who seemingly remain are the Emperor of Mankind and the Justica of the Grey Knights chapter, known as Anvil Thorn, who is said to be the last perpetual, as evidenced within the short story The Ghost Halls, where a Spiritseer of the Aeldari states the following to the Seer Council of his craft world.
The Mon Kai have rediscovered the last perpetual. Anvil Thorn has ascended to the ranks of the Grey Knights. I await your guidance.
This would seem to indicate that Yarrick himself cannot be a perpetual, as Anvil Thorn, being described as the last, would suggest that there are no others in existence. Incidentally, given the fact that Yarrick has also physically aged quite substantially, it seems unlikely that Yarrick is in fact a perpetual, as perpetuals appear to stop physically aging past a certain point in their lives, and Yarrick has clearly not. Another possibility is that the Orcs themselves have been keeping Yarrick alive following the events of the Second Armageddon War. A unique physiological trait that is seen amongst the Orcoid race is that they subconsciously generate a psychic field known as a Wa field. This field also plays a role within Orc culture and technological development. To put it into overly simplistic terms, if enough Orcs believe something is true, then due to the effects of the Wa field, it will be true. For example, within Orc society, vehicles with a red paint job are faster than vehicles painted in other colours, due to the Orcs believing that red ones go faster. As such, given the amount of awe, respect and even genuine fear that Yarrick has cultivated for himself amongst the Orcs, then he may very well be virtually unkillable, because the Orcs themselves believe that Yarrick simply cannot be killed. Even Ghazgkhull Magruk Thraka has had to admit that Yarrick is substantially tougher than a regular human, which in turn may have led to the Orc warlord, in a small corner of his subconscious mind, to potentially doubt whether Yarrick can even be killed, and in turn create a form of self-fulfilling prophecy.
Only says all weak scum that deserve to get stomped, except for One-Eye Yarrick. He knows how to fight.
Another possibility is that Yarrick is somehow being blessed by the Emperor of Mankind. Many devout followers of the Imperial cult within the many military forces of the Imperium, such as the Adepta Sororitas or the Astra Militarum, have been known to experience what can only be described as miracles. One such example is the manifestation of individuals known as living saints. Living saints are individuals who can simply be described as holy, bringing the wrath of the Emperor upon mankind's enemies with formidable combat prowess and resilience. These beings always seem to be derived from the most pious of all the Emperor's servants, and as such are frequently seen within the ranks of the Adepta Sororitas. Most living saints are reportedly female, though there are a few rare exceptions that are indeed male. As such, there is always a possibility that the Emperor himself is guiding Yarrick's actions in some minute way. But unfortunately, it seems unlikely that Yarrick is a type of living saint, due to the fact that living saints sport a characteristic golden aura of holy light around them, as well as frequently manifesting large wings, which are both traits that have no records of ever manifesting within Commissar Yarrick. But there is also a finer, darker possibility. The reason for Yarrick being as resilient as he is may be due to the machinations of the Chaos God Tzeentch. Within the novel Imperial Creed, which details one of Yarrick's earliest assignments as a commissar, Yarrick and the Imperial force to which he is attached comes into conflict with a Tzeentchian chaos cult. This cult succeeds in summoning the demon prince Ghalshannha. Yarrick attacks the demon but is restrained by it. While in the demon's grasp, Yarrick is shown visions of the future and knowledge of the universe, trying to turn Yarrick towards the worship of Tzeentch. However, Yarrick manages to break free of the demon's clutches, and with the help of Sister Satheno of the Adepta Sororitas, manages to destroy Ghalshannha's physical form. But as Ghalshannha melted back into the warp, the demon spoke a last cryptic message to Yarrick.
You are his hand, then. He did not let me see. Do you think you will see at the end.
Given these last words that Ghalshannha spoke, one must wonder if Yarrick's resilience and refusal to die, regardless of the wounds he suffers, might be due in part of a greater plan in mind by the architect of fate himself. The idea of Yarrick being the Hand of Tzeentch is certainly an interesting possibility, especially given the irony that Yarrick would lose his hand during his duel with Ghazgkhull many years later. After all, Tzeentch's plans are often as subtle as they are complex. What do you think? Is Yarrick blessed by the Emperor, Tzeentch, the Orcs, or is he simply just too stubborn to die? Leave a comment below, and thanks for watching.